Okay, I have lined these edges up as good as I can. And I'm going to staple here. I'm going to staple one over here. I'm going to staple one about here. And I'm going to staple one down there. I have not stapled on my pattern. I have just stapled around the edges of it. But nothing will shift now. I'm going to take my little foam board and my push pin, and I'm going to relax in a chair for a few minutes, and I'm going to take this push pin, and about every quarter inch or so, I'm going to make little holes in here, enough to where I can see what I'm doing, and then we'll open it out and the entire thing will be there. So I'll finish poking these holes in here, and it bothers your hand a little bit. There are other ways to do it. You can use other tools to do it, but this is just the way I found to quickly do it. You can use your sewing machine, but I tend to break needles when I do that. So I've just found the push pin and I work the best. I have finished putting the holes in my pattern. You can see on the back all the little dots. If I show it to you really closely, you can tell on the front. Now we have to remove these staples so we can open it out. If you've got a staple puller, use that. If not, use your little screwdriver that came with your sewing machine. That works well. Do not use your fingernail. It will tear it up. But I have 4 staples in here. I'm going to get rid of those. And then I'm going to see the magic. Every time I open it out, you can see the pattern on the opposite side. It gets larger and larger. Now we have the full pattern here on the entire paper. I hope you can see that. We're going to follow the dots with a Sharpie pen and connect the dots. And that will make our nice dark impression that we need to trace through on our fabric. Now I'm going to get a piece of scrap paper and put underneath this so the Sharpie will not go through and stain my table. And then we'll get started. I'm going to start just going over where my impression is. Get it in nice, a dark Sharpie so we can see through our fabric. Do all of the lines that we marked. The one in pencil is easy because your pencil is there. But over here on this other side, you just follow the holes. You can tell where they are. If you need to stop and get your bearings, do that. But it's going to give us the complete picture that we want to make our pillow. So I'll get busy with this and then be back with you. I have the pattern completed. I've drawn on all of the lines, filled in all of the leaves. Make sure you have all the lines on here before we get started anymore. Now I'm going to take some more of that blue painter's tape, and I'm going to just tape the corners down so they won't move. You just need a small piece of this, just enough to secure it a little bit. Make sure it's nice and taut. Now, what we need for our pillow, or quilt block, whatever you're making, is a piece of muslin a little bit bigger than what we want it to finish up. And this is going to finish up at a 20-inch pillow. So I want it about 24 inches square. Now I've taken a piece of muslin and I have ironed a crease in there to find the center point. And I can line those up pretty good with the stems of the flowers. And now I'm going to tape this down so it won't move. It may jiggle a little bit, but we want to kind of secure it. This is really nice if you do it with homespuns, some of the older looking fabrics, light colored fabrics. Get all 4 corners just snugged a little bit. Now the next tool we need is a blue washout pen. The kind that you draw on the quilt, and then when you're finished you wash it out. We've done this in the past with the whole cloth and several others. So we need our blue pen. We're going to trace around this entire picture here with this blue pen. Get everything nice and secured. Let me tighten this side up just a little bit. Get my center lines a little more centered. We'll take this blue washout pen and we're going to trace this entire pattern with the blue pen. Now, you're going to say, well, where do I put my knots? Practice a little bit on a piece that's not your pillow form, and it becomes very easy to gauge where the next knot is going to go. We don't have to make all those little dots. If you want to, you can. There's no sense in it. They're going to be irregular, and so if you're a little bit off, it's not going to show, as long as you're not way off. You'll get the hang of it. It won't take you but one pillow top, and you'll be able to gauge it. So I'm going to put all of this on here. These are the lines that we're going to put our candle wicking stitches on. So I'll complete this, and then we'll be ready to get going. Okay, we have our motif on here. If you want to put something in the center, you can, or we can quilt in there when we're done. So we're ready to get this layered and get going. The next step is to take our quilt top and put it face down. We want the bad side up. And we're going to take just a little basting spray and just hit it a little bit with it, so that when we put our batting on there, we want a thin layer of polyester batting. This can be a scrap. Just make sure there are no threads that would show through. This will stick them together. And when you do your stitching, if you have any odd ends of your thread on the back side, it won't show through because it'll be on the other side of the batting. So now we have our pillow top ready to hoop and get to work on. So we'll do that next. It's time to hoop our layers and get ready to candle wick. What we're going to need to do is to take a quilt hoop. It can be a single layer or it can be this double-decker one that I've got. I love this one because it sits up in your lap and makes it a lot easier to work. We're going to take our pattern and decide which part we want to work on first. And then hoop it lightly. You don't have to put a lot of stress and strain on it. Just get it secured down real good. Let me open this a little bit more. As I said, you can use a single hoop. You might even be able to squeak by with an embroidery hoop if you don't mind messing it up. It might mess it up eventually. Now, we have our pattern here. We're going to have to get a few more supplies together. We need some embroidery needles or some large needles with a big eye on it. We're going to use some cotton pearl thread. And I like to wax my thread so that it's easier to work with. And we'll get going.